हेलो फ्रेंड्स, गुड इवनिंग ऑल ऑफ़ यू। तो कैसे हैं आप सब? आज के वीडियो में आप सबका बहुत बहुत स्वागत है। तो चलिए देखते हैं आज मैं आपके लिए क्या लाया हूँ। सो टुडे हियर आई गॉट व्हाई आर चाइना एंड इंडिया फाइटिंग ओवर एन inhospitable strip of the Himalayas. After over 4 decades of saber rattling and minor scuffles, a border dispute between China and India has again turned fatal. At least 20 Indian soldiers were killed in a bloody brawl with Chinese troops on Monday in the Galvan Valley, close to Aksai Chin, an area controlled by China but claimed by both countries. It is unclear if or how many Chinese soldiers died. Both sides have accused the other of overstepping the de facto border, the line of actual control (LAC) that runs along the western sector of the valley. The details of the encounter remain confused, however, and may never be fully clear. The two nuclear armed neighbors are now attempting a rapid deselection of tension, even as some jingoistic and hawkish voices in both countries are demanding greater defiance and aggression. For its part, China had already moved large numbers of troops and armaments to the region, while India has also reportedly reinforced its position. Though New Delhi has been less vocal about its military strength there, Aksai Chin, the area in contention, is claimed as part of Xinjiang by China and Ladakh by India. It is called an inhospitable, draped in snow with temperatures around freezing even in summer. Located high in the Himalayas, the average altitude is 14,000 feet, almost 4,200 meters, almost double the height where altitude sickness kicks in, meaning any humans in the area have to undergo tedious, gradual acclimatization or suffer crippling headaches, nausea, and fatigue. The altitude and freezing temperatures may have contributed to Monday's death toll. The Indian Army initially confirmed 3 casualties but later said an additional 17 soldiers exposed to sub-zero temperatures in the high-altitude terrain have succumbed to their injuries. In his book on the region, British historian Neville Maxwell described it as a no man's land where nothing grows and no one lives. And yet, India and China went to war over it in 1962, leaving thousands dead on both sides. And between that month long conflict and Monday's skirmish, the region saw numerous fist fights and minor clashes between border guards and outraged statements from Beijing or New Delhi accusing the other of seeking to overstep the de facto border. So, why is the area so important to both sides? तो देखते हैं क्यों भाई इतना इम्पोर्टेंट है इन दोनों के लिए ये डिस्प्यूटेड टेरिटरी. Disputed territory, the line of actual control. The loosely defined de facto border emerged out of the Sino-Indian Border War of 1962, which itself was sparked by long-standing historical territorial disagreements. As Maxwell writes in his books, India's China War, sovereignty over the Aksai Chin region has always been somewhat confused. For much of the 1800s, the Himalayas was a focus of the military and political rivalry between the three empires of Russia, Britain, and China, with all three claiming various parts of the region. Decolonization only brought with it further confusion and antipathy, particularly after Pakistan split with India in the wake of independence. Aksai Chin is part of Greater Kashmir, and after the bloody war between Pakistan and India in 1947 resulted in the partition of that region. The border between China and India was left ill-defined. India claims the region as part of Ladakh, a remote mountainous territory in the eastern Kashmir Valley, which was until last year part of Indian-controlled but semi-autonomous state of Jammu and Kashmir, a part of wider disputed region that, while India recognized the so-called McMahon Line, a holdover of the British colonial era. Analyst Larry Wurzel writes in a US military report. China never formally accepted it, opting instead for the borders of habit that had existed between adjoining peoples for decades previous. This created an uneasy status quo which neither side quite agrees on the border. Both regularly accuse the overstepping it. This created an uneasy status quo which persists today, where neither side quite agrees on the border. Both regularly accuse the other of overstepping it or seeking to expand their territory. An excuse for conflict is easy to come by. Thank you for watching the video. If you like it, make sure you give it a thumbs up and subscribe. And nothing else. Thank you and have a nice day.